Why am I so yellow? I look so yellow. Is that normal? Hello? COVID. Ooh. Hi guys! Welcome to my video, I guess. I am Martina from Marty Quinn Cosplay, and this is my first making of or tutorial type of video, as I had some footage from my Sylvanas Windrunner Cosplay. I am trying to make this setup look professional. My workshop is very messy, but hey ho, here we go, and thank you so much for watching this video, and yeah, that's it.
I started with the shoulder armor. I first cut out my pattern in paper to make sure I had the right size and design that I wanted. I was debating a few different looks for the shoulders, and I always recommend trying out your patterns in paper or cardboard first. Also, please ignore this fab waistcoat. It belongs to a Tangled cosplay that will never see the light of day. Then I cut the same pieces out of some leftover 5mm EVA foam I had lying around, and this step was to see how it would sit on my shoulders. Looking at this, I ended up going for the less bulkier version on the left, as I wanted to make it out of 10mm EVA foam and it just would have been too massive. Next up, I started on the chest armor. Had I finished the shoulders? No, I had not. This is how I work, guys. So to create stability in a breastplate, it is very common to use the sandwich method, where you use Worbla and EVA foam together. Worbla is quite expensive, so instead I took some thick faux leather and I attached it as a stabilizer. This actually also made the breastplate more comfortable to wear. For the pattern here, I used one of Kamui Cosplay's female breastplate patterns, and I modified it to suit Sylvanas. Kamui Cosplay is incredible, and she has lots of patterns on her website, so please check her out, guys. And here it is coming together slowly. So you can see the breastplate and the two different armor designs. The breastplate is actually the only piece on the armor that is 5mm foam, because I just wanted a less bulky look. If you see my fabulous drawing of a gem, that will of course eventually be a gem, and it will have LEDs in it. First fun tool of the day is the Dremel. Hello! So I am doing this on all the details of the shoulders and many other places on the armor. This is one of the first time I'm using a Dremel. But yeah, if you look at this strange little tube here, it is just my vacuum cleaner. I turn it on when I'm dremeling because I am currently in my bedroom / living room / every room. And also I wear a mask. It was the first lockdown when this was made, so I had a lot of these. Open all the windows, put on the vacuum cleaner, and protect yourself against the dust from beyond. This is one of the decorations for the shoulder. This is before the Dremel, and now I'm going to show you after, but please don't judge me. I am not the queen of the Dremel. Here it comes. So it is a lot smoother, a lot softer, and a lot closer to what we want. So you take your little shoulder and you attach it on with some glue and a lot of hope and a lot of dreams. And it turns out like this. I use this method for most of the decorative parts on the armor. For smaller sections, I used Worbla. I do have a little tip, if you can call it that, is that sometimes when you Dremel, you don't get the surface to be as fine as you want it to be. So what I discovered then is that if you just heat seal your little project, it will turn out a lot nicer, and the surface will be very smooth and very kept together. For all the big pieces of foam, I used contact cement. It looks a lot like honey, but definitely don't put it in your tea, and it stinks a lot, so open your windows. But I'm kind of into that smell. And hey, here we are with some leg armor. I am lacking a lot of footage, guys, so just keep up with this. So here is basically me showing the process that I apply to every single part of the armor. I cut out the pattern, and then I use my heat gun so I can mold it into the shape that I want it to. So you can roll it, you can fold it, and basically get exactly the shape that you wanted. For something like 10mm EVA foam, it might take a little bit longer, a little bit more heat, but once it cools off, it holds its shape pretty well. So hooray! Oh, hello, horrible seams. Yes, exactly. We need to cover that up. I am so bad at gluing stuff together. So here is what you can cover your sins with. One of the best things to do is to use craft clay or foam clay, same thing. It is an amazing material that when it dries into something very similar to an EVA foam. Unfortunately, I'm quite bad at putting this on, so I found something else. I went to my local hardware store and I found this flexible filler. I think it was like £3 and it was in the bathroom or kitchen section. What you want to do is that you just want to take it out and apply it directly onto those seams that you are trying to cover up, because your gluing skills are 0. You take any type of spatula. I happen to have my ruler, so I'm just going to be using that. You want to apply the filler into the seam as much as you can. Don't worry if you smudge it a little bit out, we can sort that later, but of course, if you are neater than me, which you probably are, then do that. I like to finish off this process just with an extra reassurance, and I just tend to use my finger to make sure that I have filled every single little horrible seam that I have failed. This is a really, really nice solution, and when it dries, you can just sand it down, and it looks like it was meant to be, guys. So just make sure that you get the flexible one, because if you don't, then your armor will not be able to bend. And yeah, this flexible filler saved my life. £2, cheap and effective. That's what I like. Moving on to the corset. So I had an old corset lying around actually that I wanted to use, so I just attached some faux leather and some 2mm foam. I also attached these rivets or grommets or whatever these bad boys are called. Anyway, they were a terrible idea. Why did I not just use Velcro? Because it was going to be hidden under a cape anyway, but yeah, you live and you learn, guys. I also didn't like the color, so I wanted to change that up. I thought the design turned out really well with the foam, but hey ho. I wanted a different shade of brown on the corset. I thought I wanted something lighter, so I found some acrylics that I had, and I was like, ooh, I'm not gonna buy anything new, I'm just gonna mix it up. So I found this gold, and I thought, ooh, that might give it like a nice lighter effect. But then I realized that the gold actually had glitter in it, so I painted the whole thing. And it sparkled a lot. I don't mind a sparkle, but it was definitely not the right look for this build this time. So I had to buy something else. Meanwhile, waiting for new paint to arrive, I decided to make some leather straps that was going to be on several parts of the costume to hold everything together. I just bought these little attachments and used some old leather. The hip armor has exactly the same process as the corset. It is faux leather and 2mm EVA foam. This was a hell of a job, and I used a lot of super glue. Here you can see all the leathery pieces. It is the straps, it is the hip armor, and it is the corset. I have at this point changed the color. I found a brown that I really like. It is this one. It is more of like a rusty reddish tone, and this is before the weathering process. And yeah, turned out pretty well. My camera work, on the other hand, is sad. I have a lot of footage of the corset process. I don't know why I filmed this, but here we go. It is done, it is weathered, and I was actually very happy with the result of all the leather pieces. I did quite well, guys. Next project that I have never done before. We're talking about soldering, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to put LEDs in my build, because why not? And to do that, you're gonna need to solder. So what you're gonna need is this soldering iron and this little holder thing, because it gets really, really hot. And then you are gonna need some solder, which is basically a softer metal that you can melt. So soldering is kind of glue for LEDs and electrical stuff. You are gonna need some LEDs. These are 3-volt, just little colors, different pieces here and there. Some 3-volt batteries. you have to make sure that the LEDs and the batteries are the same volt, and then a battery holder. You can use 2 or 1 battery into this one, but of course again, if the LED is 3 volt, you're gonna have to use only 3 volt in the battery holder. A little cutter to cut stuff, and then you have some electrical tape to use, and then a little sponge that you can clean your soldering iron with. And I made this homemade, I don't know, cable holder situation, so that when you try to solder these 2 little pieces together, you can hold them. You can also definitely buy something more professional, but this is what I had. I have sped up this process a lot because this took a while, because turns out that I am not the queen of soldering either. So this is just how it went. Actually, Arthur, my lovely other half, was actually much better at soldering, so he took over that part for me after a while. Here is what a soldered connection looks like, and as I said, it looks like a little metallic glue that holds it all together. It's pretty cute. Once you have soldered the pieces together, it looks like this. You also have to add some tape to make sure that the cables are not touching each other. No touching. And then this one actually has a little switch, which is very convenient. And then you can just, ta-da, turn on the light, and it works. Another thing that I have never done before is to cast my own skulls and gems in resin. So you just mix these 2 resin pieces together 50-50, and for the skulls I added some white acrylic paint, which actually worked really well with the resin, and for the gems I had some green resin dye. So I just mixed this all together and I was hoping for the best. What can possibly go wrong? I know that maybe putting resin in acrylic molds isn't the best thing, so I was afraid I was not going to get them out, but I read somewhere that you could put them in the freezer, so that's what I did. Let's see how that went, shall we? It didn't really work. I only managed to save 1 skull, but I needed more, so I wanted to create my own mold in silicone, so I could make many in the future. This was also some kind of new experience for me. The first try actually ended up all over my table and my clothes and the floor. So this was the second try. Rest in peace, cup. Rest in peace. Look at me, I am a real cosplayer. So here it is before I have started any of the priming and painting. The LEDs and everything kind of turned out okay. Oh, welcome to my veranda of mess. So here you can see all the armor pieces. They have had their first base coat layer on, or primer, or whatever you want to call it. I use a brand that's called Polyprops, and it is a Seal Prime matte black. It needs a few coats, but it's fabulous. The cloak, or the cape, or whatever you want to call it. It is made out of a wool fabric, and it was from a pattern that I already had and I've used many times before. So after I put this all together, it was time to completely destroy it. This part was just so satisfying. I got to destroy it all with scissors, and I burned some sections of it to get that distressed look. I used a lot of black spray paint as well, and I was very happy with the result. And here you can see Arthur's nice little feet. Look at those nice little feet. For the bow, I have very little footage. I think it is because it almost killed me, guys. But I wanted to show you this skull. This is a pattern by Community Cosplay again. I used it as a base to create the bird-like, dragon-like skulls on each side of my bow.
Hi. I don't have much footage of the bow. That's why I'm just going to show you instead. So this thing is built up around a PVC pipe. And on top of that, we have foam clay, which is what allows you to sculpt, and then you have EVA foam, which I've used on the rest of the costume as well. This is all foam clay. I've used an elastic here, so it's easy to make it flexible, because the bow actually comes apart because it is ginormous. So traveling with this would be an absolute nightmare. So what I do is I just remove this piece here. Ta-ta! And like that, you can pack your bow easily when you travel to con, or if you are really late and you slept in and you have to Uber, which is me every time.
And here it is, guys, the full costume. I can't believe I finished it for Comic-Con. I didn't think I was gonna be able to, but I was overall very happy. Was it comfortable to wear? No. Will I ever put it on again? No. But I accomplished what I wanted to do, and I'm very happy with my first full armor build. But I really need to take a shit.
Yeah, okay.
Like desperately.
Just gonna get away from you then.